The next one I will talk about is actually some reprints of stuff that's been collected before that they're kind of like putting out in new editions. One of my favorite comics of all time, Courtney Crumrin and the Night Things. Oni Press is putting out a nice hardcover, and they're actually recoloring it. Or actually, it wasn't colored before, so they're coloring it for the first time. Le Bon a little bit. So that will be coming out in April. Also, Cursed Pirate Girl, which is my number one comic of this last year, from Jeremy Bastian, is going to be coming out through Archaea Press. And they actually originally were going to publish Cursed Pirate Girl. But that was before the restructuring period, where they kind of, went off the mat for like 6 months, and then they came back. And then he actually got, I think this went through Olympian Publishing or something like that, the Cursed Pirate Girl paperback. But it was really hard to get your hands on. Like, I couldn't get it through Barnes & Noble at all. Like, I think I had to order through Amazon or something. They only had a couple copies left. So, there's going to be a nice hardcover edition coming out from Archaea in June 12th. So, that's exciting to see, too.
Yeah, and a good opportunity for people who want to get their hands on it after having seen last week's podcast.
That's right. Yeah, and it was really hard to get your hands on, so this will be a nice way for more people to have access to this great material.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else do I have? Well, going back to talking about comic book series, since I came out last week as a fan, an unabashed fan of Rob Liefeld's work, I have to mention the revival of Extreme Studios that's going to be happening this year. So this is Rob Liefeld's branch of Image Comics, which he is going to get going again as an active publishing concern in 2012. And he has announced various series using his characters with quite impressive creative teams attached to each of them. The first one I'll mention, and the one I'm most looking forward to, I don't know that I'll read all of them, but for sure I'm going to be checking out Supreme. This is going to be written by Alan Moore and Eric Larson, with art by Larson and Corey Hampshire. This one's kind of a perfect storm for me because big Rob Liefeld fan, as you know, big Eric Larson fan, as you know from his work on Savage Dragon, and I'm a big fan of Alan Moore's run on Supreme that he did in the 90s. That was a terrific book. So this is kind of like they made this comic for me. It's like there's no way I'm not going to get this book. So what they're doing is the first issue features a script by Alan Moore, which I assume is the last of the Supreme scripts that he had provided way back when. And Eric Larson will be doing rough artwork with finished art and inks by Corey Hampshire. And then starting with the second issue, Eric Larson himself will take over writing, using Alan Moore's stories to, kind of as a launching point to take the book into its new direction, and whatever Eric Larson is going to do with it. So that's really exciting. Eric Larson doesn't do a lot outside of his creator-owned Savage Dragon, which he, insists will continue to come out regularly, even as he's working on these Supreme comics. So that is absolutely going to be a great book. So I'm really looking forward to that one. Also coming out from that line is Prophet, another character that Liefeld created back in the day. This version is going to be written by Brandon Graham from King City fame, so that will be of interest to a lot of people, with art by Simon Roy. Glory, which is sort of a riff on Wonder Woman, will be written by Joe Keatinge with art by Ross Campbell. Bloodstrike is going to be written by Tim Seeley with art by Francesco Gaston. And of course, Liefeld's signature creation, Young Blood, will also be returning, written this incarnation by Jim McLaughlin with art by John Malin, although I believe Liefeld has said he may check in on that particular book and contribute some artwork along the way, which would be absolutely terrific. So it's going to be another great year for my pick for the 2011 Artist of the Year, Rob Liefeld. And these are sound like they're going to be some pretty high quality books. Supreme for sure will be a must buy.
Sounds good. All right. The next one I'm looking forward to is Steve Canyon, coming out from the Library of American Comics line through IDW, which does amazing work with these reprint projects.
Really good stuff.
And this is from Milton Caniff, and this is what he left Terry and the Pirates to do. So, and obviously Terry and the Pirates was another one that came out through the Library of American Comics, and they did a phenomenal job with these oversized books, hardcovers. So
yeah, Dean Mulaney, I think, edits that line of reprints. They do a really great job.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to Steve Canyon. We actually went to an exhibit at a local art museum where we saw some art from some of the major figures in comics history, and Milton Caniff was one of the creators that was featured there. And I saw some Steve Canyon stuff, and it just made me really excited. It's one of the things that I really had an impression on me when we went there. So I'm looking forward to this collection to start to come out. So
for sure,
yeah. Volume 1 is going to be collecting 1947 and 1948 work, and that comes out February 7th.
Yep, the golden age of classic comic strip reprints marches on. This is another one that definitely needs to be in print. They've already done Terry and the Pirates, so this will be a great addition.
Exactly.
We'll start clearing the space on the bookshelf now.
Or just buy a new bookshelf.
Yep. Okay, well, let's talk about manga. We talked about manga a little bit already with Suehiro Maro. But one that I'm really looking forward to is Vertical's publication of what they're calling Message to Adolf by the great Osamu Tezuka. So this is one that I knew Vertical would get around to eventually. They're very, very aggressive in bringing a lot of work by Tezuka into print. And this one, the Adolf books have been translated before. They're now out of print. I think Viz did and a series of these comics a while back, quite a while back. And Vertical is providing a new translation and, of course, a new design and everything for the book, as they usually do so wonderfully. And it sounds like a really interesting story. It's about 3 people with the name Adolf, first name Adolf, one of whom is the infamous German dictator. The other 2 are characters whose lives are intertwined and connected with their more famous namesake in some way. So a really interesting kind of elliptical examination of that whole period in history by one of the unquestioned all-time greats of comics. So I'm way behind on reading all of the Tezuka material Vertical's been putting out, but this is one that I'll be sure to check out.
Sounds good.
Yep, Message to Adolf.
All right, I'll go ahead with some manga too. No No Ba from Shigeru Mizuki, who did Onwards Toward Our Noble Death this last year.
That didn't come out either. I thought that already came out.
Nope, this is the first English translation.
Okay, fair enough.
This is a poetic memoir from him that's coming out from Drawn Quarterly. And that's going to be coming out on March 27th. And he's known as the forefather of yokai manga. So I think a lot of people are looking forward to this, because I think the Onwards Toward Our Noble Death showed up on a lot of best of lists this last year.